All right, it's chat parent time. Okay, and I don't link. I actually didn't think I was gonna have enough energy to do this video because it just happened that today is the day that the next issue or the current latest issue of Ultimate Spider-Man comes out over here in Portland. And getting out the link to people to join the stream. We're ranking FNAF cards. Woo! Don't give people time to join. This first tier list is going to be... Let me adjust the colors while I'm waiting for people to join. Can I edit? Nah, I guess I'll do that on the main page. Because I want this to be gray, because that expresses. And let's get you to be the green. Alright. This is about what I want the tier list to be. Is there a... Yeah, I'll just keep it the same way. Hello, Tepig. Welcome. I have... Oh, I should add the FCG crew. Alright. Ultimate Freddy. So, I got two tier lists up. I got the actual, like, quality of the cards gameplay-wise, and then I have the rarity tier list, which is, like, what, rarity the cards, like, would be if they were, like, in a booster pack, for example. I'm gonna zoom it a little because we got a lot of cards. Ooh, S tier should be purple. That is a good point. I think I'll make... Ooh, wait, no. I think I'll make you red then. Yeah, that's a nice variety of colors. I like the look of that. I'm gonna just, like, quickly throw all the tokens into token tier. They are a very fixed rarity. So I just wanna, like, get that out of the way, because, like, they're... My idea is you would get, like, 1 or 2 tokens per pack, is probably how I would do it. They're not like, oh, wow, I want a pack just for the tokens. You know. Bonbon. That said, card quality will come into the rarity ranking. Purple guide tier. It's going to be a pyramid kind of going upward, so, like, there's going to be fewer super rare cards than anything, slightly more rare cards, slightly more uncommon cards, and then basically any card you would want to run for an entire archetype or, like, any deck that are, like, generic and basic, like, for example, Chica, like, Bonnie, like, Freddy, and Foxy, they are all the definition of a common card. If you do not have these cards in your deck, they're, like, or they're essential to the deck. So, like, making them easily accessible, I think, is the most rational thing to do for their playstyle. Whereas, and likewise, like, the toys, they run, like, these three you want at almost any one of their decks. Like, almost any Freddy deck's going to run Toy Freddy. Likewise, Toy Chica and Toy Bonnie are going to be in a lot of decks. The idea of common is to be accessible, to be, like, to be everywhere. Hello, Perix. Hello, JJ Robotnik. Toroboromon must be purple guy tier. You're right. He's going to be the only super rare token. Did I miss any tokens? I don't think I did. Because there's not that many tokens overall. There's only, like, 7 in the game. Right now, at least. Maybe FCG2 will add a lot more tokens. Okay. The Wizards are also a great example of uncommon tier. They're similar to the commons, like, to the common staples, where it's like you want them, like, definitively in their deck playstyle. But, like, RWQ is an example of, like, a rare card. He's weird, he's not normal, You don't run him in every deck, and he's powerful in the decks he can be in really well. However, he's not like a game-bustingly good card. He's just like he's special. You know, rare is like special, but not holy shit. This can only be whatever in that super tier. Uh, and I'm not even 100% sure what, because I made a prototype version of this list. And Golden Freddy's the example I'm talking about. Golden Freddy's a holy shit card. He is basically, if you're like a deck objective kind of card like him, you're going in super rare tier. He is such a like a nutty card when he really pops off. But like I said, that's kind of the gist of this tier. Is like, whoa, what the hell is happening? These are like really complicated, very technical, very fancy cards. Whereas rare is like they're weird, they're unusual, they're kind of special, but they're not like staples. Typically, like there might be staples within the rarity tier for like, I would argue William should be a rare card, for example. However, you only ever need 3 Williams total. Whereas every single Freddy deck is going to run Toy Freddy and Freddy, probably. Whereas William is like one deck, so I think he could work for rare. He actually, yeah, I think rare works for him. I think the super rare pickles actually is absolutely required. Like this is a win condition card, so it goes there actually automatically. That's a good one. I know that was said as a joke, but like, yeah. I think a lot of the customizations are going to be in uncommon to common. Not like a lot of these, they kind of do their thing and that's it. Mike's an awkward one. I think Phone Guy is common tier because he's not that good, and he's kind of vanilla. You know, he does this sort of thing, and he's sort of outclassed. So he's and Endo 01's kind of like that too. They're not very fancy cards. There's not like a thing to them. I am excited for Sparking Zero / Tenkaichi 4. Anim Dude is a super rare card. That's another, like, I think anytime there's like a clear, the Crying Child also the Crying Child and Vengeful Spirit are absolutely super tier cards now that I think about it, because those are both holy shit cards functionally. The like super tier like basically represents something so absurd and ultimate and ridiculous that you might only have, that's either so good you're going to want 3 of it, I'm going to make that but it should be difficult because they're so good that it's like, oh, getting that's going to be quite the task, you know. Or like you run 1 or 2 of it because they're taxing, they're complicated, they're tricky to use. 2020, that's a tricky one. I feel like that goes in uncommon tier. It's a technical card compared to most customizations, but it's not super specific. Defy can go into common. Jumpscare can go to common. They're very basic, like simple cards. Pizza likewise can go to common. Power outage. I think that goes into uncommon. That's another weirder one. It's kind of technical. It's the Freddy. It's sort of the alternate Freddy win condition card. Because it makes them because it makes a Freddy unblockable. And also is really good at comboing to Freddy's main thing. But it's not as like, but it doesn't have a generic use like pizza, and it's not like every Bonnie could use to defy the laws of physics, you know. Mike, I do think is common. He's better than Phone Guy, and he if there was like a middle tier between these two, he would be between the two. He's a card that any deck can run pretty much, other than maybe a Springlock deck. Really, is the only deck that couldn't really run him. there's a lot of reasons that Spring Lock deck can't really use it. Since Mike is animatronic support in a way, and he's defense, he doesn't really, and he supports like aggressiveness for animatronics. He's kind of a jack of all trades in that regard. But the William deck fills up so many spaces so quickly that that it's not like you're not going to be using the door tokens that much, and also there's no animatronics to make aggressive in his deck. Yeah, uncommon is basically it's kind of niche and kind of special for their decks, but also it's not like you don't want to quickly get a set of them. Like you're going to be running 3 of the uncommons. It's just going to be a little harder to do. I'm glad you like the TCG sandwich, even if it's a little complicated, which I tried to avoid, but like I realized when making a TCG, to make it interesting and not bare bones, it had to be a little complicated. And it kind of, when you have to make 190 cards, it just becomes a little complicated along the way. This is a rare. This is like the first, like Pickles is like a gimmicky kind of win condition card. 1987 is a weird card that's very special in its context, and it blasts off when it does go. Mike Nunn. He's not Foxy Grow by victim. There's a 4th Afton child sister brother. I don't really get what the proof for that theory would be. I feel like Foxy Bro being no one is kind of weird, and that's what that has to kind of run with. Anyway, back to the card game. The fan is I think that's another uncommon one. It's a silly gimmicky card for dealing with a lot of deactivation heavy decks. How does Pokemon rank on the TCG scales at basic as the games are as RPGs? It's weird. The Pokemon TCG is actually hard to learn because it's so easy to learn. And that's going to sound weird, but Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon and a lot of the big card games out are very complicated, and you gotta really get used to playing. But they come with a lot of conventions they taught each other. Like there's a collective like history of card games learned between them. Pokemon is weird because it was made to be a baby easy, very easy to learn game early on, and then became more complicated as power creep and new card gimmicks and new ideas came along. And it also was made so early in card game history that much like Magic, where Magic's really technical, because it was made before like we learned how to streamline a lot of mechanics for games, Pokemon just plays like so few other games in the market right now. So if you know the other games, it's hard to go over to Pokemon because it doesn't play the same. Like I designed the FNAF TCG that a Magic the Gathering and a Digimon player could go into it very quickly. It functions on very similar like things to balance and learn about. The fan wasn't in the FNAF 1-2 card video, because I didn't make it yet. I've nicknamed the DLC list, that were cards that were created or added into the game a little later. Well, actually, the fan was around at the time, but it wasn't designated as a FNAF 1 card yet, because I was riffing on the FNAF World card when I made it. But then when I updated it, I made it more based on the FNAF 1 fan. And likewise, Gift Boxes was a FNAF World card, or an extra card. It didn't really have a designated thing until I updated the TCG and redid all the art, and then that led to it being a FNAF 2 card, because I realized I wanted to double down on the FNAF 2 gifts angle. Yes, it's also very Inscription inspired, because I love Inscription. But what's the desired ratios? So pretty much you're going to want 3 of like your basic beaters, like these guys. And then you want your advanced ones later on. You might also want 2 to 3 of these. And then you're going to fill in a lot of the more technical cards at like 1 to 2 for other cards. So stuff like the Freddy deck can run a Nightmare Freddy, but you're only going to want 1 or 2 of him. Speaking of him, he's going to go in like uncommon. The Nightmares in general are going to be very uncommon focused. These ones are just like, I quickly know they're weird. You only want like 1 or 2 of them in each deck. So they're an uncommon because they're not valuable enough to be up here, but they're not useful enough to be common, if that makes sense. Likewise, like pretty much all of the Phantoms, except for these 2, I would place in common because they're so basic, they're cheap, these are another ones you might want 3 of because you can just throw them out with no care. They're completely reckless cards. Oh, ratios for the rarity list. Like I said, it's going to be a pyramid. I'm going to kind of figure out the ratio as I go and fine tune it a bit when I have it a bit more laid out. Sandwichy. Yeah, starting with the Pokemon TCG also makes it a little hard to get into other card games because, like I said, it functions so differently. Most card games are about the swarm, if that makes sense. You're building up your board with all the things on it, and they use that to make differences between decks. Like in Digimon, a red deck typically has one big badass motherfucker it's building towards that blows it all off at once. And to counter that, stuff like black decks spread out big and wide, and there's like a swarm of like all the Diaboromon tokens or the Commandramons or whatever that fill out the deck. Or play like defense for the bigger guys to like block up and absorb some hits. Pokemon, it's always about the one guy in the center. You have a back row of stuff that will switch in and stuff like that, and you have your hand that like swings in and all that. But it's all about the one. It's like the one-on-one. It's like normal Pokemon match. Thank you, Sandwich Chili, but for the $2, by the way. You're fired. I think this is a common card. It's every deck runs a human, an adult human. I cannot think of a deck that doesn't run one. Other than maybe a FNAF 4 deck, I think that would be the only one that doesn't run an adult. So that's like a staple enough that I think any deck can run it. BB. Huh. BB is weird. I think he should be common. JJ likewise. They're kind of too good to be common because they completely shut down some decks. I think JJ should be uncommon, actually. That should separate the two a little bit to make them a little bit more distinct from each other. Endo 02. Now, here's the thing. I'll move this up to uncommon if I feel like common has enough cards, because common has to be common, you know. If uncommon starts getting too many cards, I'm gonna start kicking some cards down to it, and likewise, if common starts getting too many cards, to the point that there isn't a healthy middle row here, I'm gonna start kicking stuff around to like balance it out. The Lego games do go kind of hard. They're really fun, for what they are. And I don't mean for what they are as like a kind of like derogatory thing or like a dismissive. I mean like they're not trying to be like Last of Us, you know. They're trying to be fun adventure little puzzle like platformer. They kind of do a lot actually. I think about it. They're supposed to be fun, and they're supposed to be like a way to experience a story in a sillier way, and they do that well. They're fun. They're not like it's not like it's similar to how Mario Odyssey isn't trying to be, like I said, The Last of Us. It's not trying to be Thor Ragnarok. It's not trying to be both a good game and a big story as well. It's like they're trying to be Lego games, and the Lego games are fun and good. I have done test physical prints of this card game. I'm in fact the exact details are still kind of being worked out for what my involvement is. But if you remember from last year, I was in the Vortex Alpine charity stream. This year's Vortex Jungle, where it's going to be a charity stream for restoring jungles and stuff like that. And I last year I ran a quiz for it. I ran like this quiz section, and I'm thinking of working on that again. It seems like I'm going to be doing that, but I do know there's going to be an ad for the FNAF TCG midway through the video, or through the stream, I should say. It's not a video, it's a stream. That I've written the outline for. I just need to actually make it, but the stream won't be happening until like July, so I have some time to work on it. I'm also hoping to get a physical print of the FNAF TCG, a limited one. It would be like 4 or 5 cards. That would be giveaways in the stream for donations. Like you would enter, like it would be a prize for donating. You have a chance to get some of the physical cards for the TCG. The Complete Saga is really good, and I actually haven't played much of Clone Wars specifically. I played some of the other ones. Fritz is uncommon. He's too good to be common. Jeremy is not good enough to be uncommon, so he is uncommon. Yeah. Gift boxes is weird. It might be a rare card. It's a very specific use, but any deck can use that. It's specifically when you know, hey, this card's going to die within a turn, or something like that. Because otherwise, if this was Yu-Gi-Oh, this card would be a super rare card. It's just a free negate of death, basically, in that context. However, in the FNAF TCG's format, gift boxes is like, I'm sinking 30% for the chance this card might die. Like you would have to be afraid your card would die, and it has to be a card that's important enough to run 30%. You know, because 30% is like an entire turn of energy sometimes. Especially if you're being power choked by like a Bonnie or Foxy deck, you have nothing when it comes to gift boxes. Like you're just spending it for what, like, think about it. You're only going to run gift boxes if your card is going to die. However, the cards that are worth keeping alive typically are the ones that are not going to die. Nightmare is absolutely super rare. Jesus, he's scary. Mangle's uncommon. Mangle's not like the other toys. Mangle's a little bit more special, a little bit more of a jack of all trades. Once again, Mangle can be run on a lot of decks. Is really fun in the Enter deck in particular. Like I run quite a few Mangles in that deck. But not quite good enough. But not like, Mangle isn't like special enough to be rare. You know, it's Mangle. I love Mangle, but this would be like me placing, I don't know, this would be like me placing Phone Guy in rare. It's like, yeah, Phone Guy's really cool, and he's like a kind of a unique character, but like, is he really like, oh wow, he's as weird as Nightmare Fredbear or as special as William and RWQ? Not quite, you know. Paper Plate Pal is common, a borderline deck filler and pack filler. It has a use. I've run it in a few decks when I need just like something to soak up a hit, but not really that special. My grandfather's clock. That's a weird one. What do I do with you? You're like the focus of the puppet deck, but you're going to run 3 of them in that deck, and this card does nothing without the puppet. It only is useful with the puppet. I think the puppet would be rare. I was tempted to put it in uncommon, but only really the puppet deck can use the puppet, you know? Like, you can throw it in other decks to, like, drain a little bit of power. But, like, I find often if I'm not pressured by a dedicated puppet deck, I have no fear of the puppet ever reaching 5 counters. So it really is only 10%, minus 10% if I have worry that I need, like, it's like a 50% buffer. Um, I have about 40% I can just ignore it for before it really starts mattering. Uh, uh, I've been testing some prints off with a 9x9 sticker paper setup. Then cards are often printed too dark. They looked a little better in person when I printed them from a card printing website. They're dark, but I didn't find that they were too dark, and I've actually improved a lot of the contrast over time in general. So for CCG, you use FNAF 1 through you use FNAF 1 through UCN characters in the TCG right now, and there's going to be more characters. I'm working like one set at a time right now, where I'm like, this is FNAF 1 through UCN, this is the first wave of cards. And then I'm actually in a really good place with the card game right now. There's not many balance changes I feel like I need to like emergency implement yet. Like for me to make a major change, like how a card works or rework a card, it would have to be something that just is completely busted that no one had figured out until trying it. But yeah, no, this is FNAF 1 through UCN. It just happens that UCN doesn't have many unique cards. It's a lot of the older cards. Yeah, we're going to be making our way through it. We've just started basically. Knight of Misfits. That's an uncommon. The Misfits are weird. Reactivated might be common, weirdly enough, because it's so. It's not a very interesting card, really. It's a little technical, but like these are. If you got one of these, I feel like these would get in the way of you getting other cards. Like if I put these into uncommon, you'll be like, "Fuck, I got scrapped, really?" They're kind of boring. Or not boring. They have their use. They're actually kind of funky in certain spots. Uh, uh, yeah. Tokens. You can only really have a maximum of 5 tokens in play at a time, and like only 2 of the tokens can go in all 5 slots. So you only ever need 3 tokens. Like period. I also realized I missed Nightmare Cupcake. Nightmare Cupcake. And this also can only really go in 3 slots at a time. So you'd only ever need 3 of a token. Freddy is so iconic that you want a lot of him. Like my idea with common is you're going to see more of these than any other. These are the cards you're going to be the most familiar with. They're going to be around every corner. They're staples. Like they're the bedrock of the game. Whereas uncommon are like that, but a little nicher. They're a little bit more specific and they're a little bit more focused for what they do. And then like super rares, like you want to look for one of these cards. You're like, oh man, I finally got the crying child. I can complete my set. And rare is like, ooh, that's weird. That's like I wanna get a couple of those. Those aren't quite the usual like stuff. I think like you would want to go through a few packs for these. Like these are cards I want you to be hyped to look for if they were in a randomized set. Shadow Freddy has to be next to RWQ. He's almost super tier and for how rare and like or how like good he is effect wise. But I think pairing him with RWQ makes sense, and he's not quite one of the holy shit characters. He's just a really cool character. BB Double Click is a rare card. It's niche, but it's really good in its niche. It's special in a Happiest Day decks, especially. That was something I went when I was updating the deck list. Overall, I was adding a few more cards to fill it out some. Fredbear I think will be super tier. Fredbear is classic Fredbear. He's a spooky fucking card. Um, there might be more cupcakes. I don't know. If I feel like I have a use in FCG2 for other cupcake cards, I'll run them. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same thing. Fredbear is such a special card for like he's like what a rare tier card is, but for super tier cards, where he is a super specific, but he can still be kind of generically used a little bit. Yeah, and he's paired with Golden Freddy, so he needs to be around Golden Freddy. They specifically play into each other. Half-eaten hot dog common, happiest day rare. I'd almost want happiest day to be super rare, but I don't know, something about rare fits it. That's more like a gut intuition one. There's not really like mechanical reason for that one. I think a lot of the Afton cards should be uncommon because Afton is so good as a deck type that he's kind of special inherently. I think Spring Bonnie is the only common Afton I can think of. Likewise, I think Springtrap has to be next to William. They're both rare. They're both special. But like when I think of collecting cards, right? When I like, for example, my experience with the Digimon decks are like, I want to be able to just hand my friend a Freddy or a Foxy or whatever to help them make a deck. I'm not just going to hand them a William if I got one, you know, like that's for building a William deck. That's kind of what I think for like the rare cards and like what's kind of separates them from an uncommon card. Yeah, might as well just watch the VOD. Yeah, go ahead. I won't stop you. It's all in your mind. That's another weird one. I think it's in a lot of, it's going to be sharing a lot of space with the uncommon cards, because it's sort of like these few where it's or like these two or these three where it's like these are very basic support for very common basic cards. And it's not like, oh, I need the key. Like, I feel like with, let me go down to find Endo Army. Like, Endo Army, this is like the card that unlocks the potential of the Endos. So that's like a rare card. That's like it may be support for basic cards, but it makes them more than just basic cards. What It's all in your mind doesn't make the card that supports any more powerful or aggressive. It's just a way to support them. Phone Dude's interesting. He's Springtrap support, so he kind of flies up to uncommon just by proxy. And I think one night or 3925-248 flies up to rare because this is one of the most technical cards in the game for how complicated its effect is. It's so specific, it's so weird to use that I don't see like anyone like running it in the way that you would run an uncommon card. Like this is not the same kind of staple that these four are. Shadow Cupcake I think also goes uncommon. It's a little bit more, it's sort of like how Power Outage is, where it's sort of a niche where you're running Chica and Susie support for Happiest Day. It's another very specific one, but it's not as complicated as 395. I'm like, welcome, Eduardo. Yeah, we're about FNAF 3, but we've been kind of skipping around for cards where I feel like the entire set fits in something. Like I felt like the 4 staple nightmares all very cleanly fit into uncommon. Shadow Puppet. Uncommon. No elaboration. Springlock Failure. Uncommon. No elaboration. What can we use? What can we use? Where do you go? Where do you go? We were talking about Star Wars for a little bit. What? I think it's... This is the type of card you get a lot of, but don't realize how special it is until you run the deck that uses it. Yeah, this is a tier list for, like, if I were to make card packs for these cards, this is what the rarities would be. So, like, tokens, you would have, like, one of them in every pack, guaranteed, or whatever. Not like all 7, just like you would get 1 token at random, or, like, 2 tokens at random, or something like that. Common is, like, you would get, like, 8 or so of these, like, this would be most of the pack, and then uncommon would be, like, you get, like, 2 or 3 of them per pack, so you get a fair amount. There's a decent selection to go through. Rare is like you get like 2 of them a pack, and the super rare is like you might get 1 a pack. I think is what I place for super rare. The Jackos. The Jackos are such weird fucking cards. They were very gimmicky creations, or actually, Jacko Bonnie was gimmicky, I should say. I've had a Discord for ages. I'll explain card effects when they're relevant. So Jack O'Bonney, for example, is a coin flip. He just does something at random, basically, or his attack power is pretty much random. It's either 0 or 10, depending on whether you succeed a coin flip. 10, by the way, is like, unless you're building the most powerful technical Foxy deck of all time, you're never going to get even close to 10 JP. Golden Freddy can't get that close. So he has just like a random chance to win a fight, but he's super unreliable. But we're getting a lot of uncommon cards. But I feel like FNAF World is going to give us a ton of commons. It's going to, like, I think pretty much all of these guys run uncommon. Personally. Bounce Pot as well. They're so bare bones cards. Like, there's not much special about these. Jacobani is very silly. I don't know how to set up, like, to guarantee their tokens would be paired with cards that summon them. Like, I don't know if you could technically do that for packs. Like, that would be a cool idea. I just don't know how you would set it up that way. Jacobani, or Jacko Chica, she's basically a side grade to Withered Chica, so I think she also goes up there. And Nightmare BB. Nightmare BB might be a rare card, because he's another one of the weirder cards. So his thing is he's a really cheap 3 JP card, but you can negate. But at any time, whenever he would attack or block, you could just pay 10% to prevent him from doing so. So if your opponent's about to attack you with Nightmare BB, you can just say no. You'll lose a little bit of power, but he just won't. I feel like I'm pretty sure the standard for most card game packs is around 15 to 18 cards. So I would say around that many cards in a pack. Nightmare Girl is going to go up to rare. He's a fucking weird ass card. Like, he's actually not weird. He's the most bare bones card possible, other than Chica. Chica's the most bare bones card, but Nightmare Mangle. Well, actually, party hats A and B are, but reactivate once per turn. This is a strong card though, and it's super niche. But it's not a card you're going to look through every pack for, where you're like hyped, like, oh, I finally got the Vengeful Spirit, you know? This is just oh, wow, I got a Mangle? That's interesting. Like, it's one of those you're not looking for, but it's cool to see. Nightmarion's very similar, I think. I don't... Plush Trap. Plush Trap's common because it's funny. There's no other reason. Plush Trap's another one of the really complicated cards because he's based on probably my favorite Magic the Gathering card because of how stupid it is. It's a Magic the Gathering card called Toggledite. Let me pull up Toggledite because this is I own this card. I have this guy. Toggledite. Toggledite enters the battlefield turned on. When a player casts a spell, which is playing any card by the way, toggle Toggledite's on-off switch. As long as Toggledite is turned off, it can't attack or block and prevent all damage it would deal. For a 3-cost 4/4, that's actually really good. But it's fucking Toggledite. It just randomly turns on and off when cards are played. And that's just straight up what basically that's like 1-to-1 what Plush Trap does. He's unblockable when the lights are off, but he doesn't do anything when the lights are on. So he's such a stupid card. I love him. I love running Plush Trap because it's the stupidest thing to track and keep track of. Psychic Friend Fredbear might be rare. He's an uncommon tier quality card, but he's kind of funky and special in a weird way. He's basically just like a peek at the top of your deck card, but he also had some some basic Afton usage where he can kind of support that deck playstyle. So I think as unusual Afton support, he fits rare. Pretty much anything that's an Afton card is going to be bumped up a tier from what it would be. This is an uncommon card. It's support for uncommon cards. It's similar to Endo Army. It kind of makes them playable. It's sort of what makes these kind of normal cards more special, but it's not as silly as Endo Army is for how strong it makes them. You're going rare. You're just straight up going rare. You're Fredbear. Almost anything Fredbear is going to be high tier rarity. Have fun getting dinner, Eduardo. Plush Trap is the card you pull on your friends to mess with them at like 3 a.m. A little bit. Also a weird card. Actually, I'm going to quickly put these guys in their tiers because they're kind of self-explanatory. Like, these are all kind of special, unusual cards for their reasons. Like, similar to Endo Army, Adventure Nightmare makes the deck like significantly more playable. Whereas like this should be a common card, but it supports an uncommon, unusual archetype. I kind of want it to be a common card now that I think about it, because it's not special enough to warrant being uncommon, now that I think about it. I want to throw up some comments real quick to see what we're looking at here, because there's some ones where I just like gut instinct to know their rarity, because they're just very basic, like all the melodies. are like the definition, and like all the trash in the game are like the definition of like common borderline deck filler for how they run and how they operate. Except for Bucket Bob, he has a kind of special use, and and Orville goes up to uncommon. Actually, he's in the rare finds auction. That's funny little flavor to put him up in rare. Where is Netbear? Yeah, these are all common. They're all, like I said, borderline deck filler. They're so, like, you're going to see them so many packs. Join the rest of the commoners at the bottom tier. Who else goes in common tier? I want to get a better sense of what common tier looks like before I start balancing this list a little bit more, because I might start bringing some cards down to common. Not as many of these are common as I would like. I think, Bite Shield might be a common card now that I think about it. And Mendo, yeah, Mendo should be uncommon, or should be common. He's another, like, he's kind of like how I mentioned what have you brought home is only special for the Nightmare deck, because he basically this card basically mass plays nightmares, so that's what I'm saying, like, where it helps play them, but it's not what makes them scary and deadly like Endo Army. Endo Army adds 2 JP to all endos for, like, until the end of your opponent's turn, which is a long time for that kind of effect. So that's like what makes that like a sillier, it's like a rare card. Did you put FNAF World? Funtime Foxy actually got its own special card based on art I did representing what I think it would look like if completed. Let me throw up some more very clear super rares. These are like cards where their role is kind of self-explanatory, because they're so special, they're so good that you just like there's something kind of quintessential about them, you know? Like Mike's a rare. Corpse Mike's is super rare. He's ridiculously strong. Like this, okay, Party Ats A and B is so bare bones. It's literally a card with no effects. It's just a front row card with 20% power cost and 2 JP. It was made to make it a normal generic card any deck can run. Snas, I'm glad your cat is here. But if you know games like this where, like, this is like Summoned Skull, where it's like, yeah, it technically doesn't do anything special, but what's special about it is how cheap and easy it is to play for its stats. It's special by that token rather than its unique powers or abilities it offers. Like Zangle, weird ass card. The only dual color card in the entire game. Probably the only one that's ever going to get that feature. It is probably the most unique card there's going to be. Mini Arena is common. Who else? Ballora, I think, goes in common. Yendo. Dee Dee might also go in common. She's not that special on her own. Seagoon would be an interesting card, but there's already so many damn FNAF World cards that I'm pretty hesitant to make another one right now. I'd have to wait until there's more, like, I just want to make more cards like FNAF World cards to do that. You know, since these are the bedrock of an entire deck, I think establishing most of the fun times as common cards, even though they're uncommon quality cards for how like special their usage is, they're basic support for a deck. Like just how like you want like 3 of these and you want to see a lot of these so you can just handle them and use them however you want. Nerds uses these cards the exact same way. So I think that bumps them up there. Or bumps them down to common. And what else can I throw in common? I think the clowns. Oh, Dark Springtrap goes up to rare. He should be right around Springtrap. Coffee is a pretty uncommon card incarnate kind of deal. Oh, here, let me throw you up there. You're I want to see as few of you as possible. You know what you did. You on the other hand go up to rare. Baby's also probably a rare card. I'm starting to need more uncommons, so let's start adding some more uncommons back into the... Oh, you're a super rare card. If you cost 100%, you're pretty much guaranteed to go to super rare. I think you're also rare, because you're generic everything searcher. The rarity is basically like what would I want if I made a list of card packs and all that, or if I made card packs where at random, how common would you get these cards? This is the rarity. Super rare is like once a pack. Rare is like a couple a pack. Uncommon's like 2, 3, 4 a pack. Common would be like 8 cards out of the pack, and tokens would be like, fucking who cares? Anything could be a token. Maybe like 1 a pack because you're going to get so many of these and there's not many of them. Okay. Spirits are really tricky. Oh, here, you can go in common. The trash support is common. Hand unit also should be common because that's another like the deck is built on it almost, so that should be easily accessible. This card just sucks, so it's common. It's so bad that like it's going to be like one of those like whatever, throw it to the side kind of cards. Oh, it's fucking Connection Terminates a super rare. What the hell is wrong? Like that's a silly like ridiculous card. Phasgoo will be in the card game. I will state that blatantly. It's not there yet. But when I get to the book cards, because that's going to be its own set, or all the book cards, both novels and frights and tales, and the movie, they're all going to be one big set. Phasgoo is notable enough that I think it has to be in the card game. Tangle, very much an uncommon type card. It's that weird, not rare usage where it's like, whoa, I got a William, that's cool. Or like it's not special enough to be. It's just not special enough to be rare. It's weird. I think uncommon is either something that's so good that it can't be just something you're constantly getting, but not so special that you need to look for it, or that you like just handle it special. It's like that. It's the level of how special it is and how fucking nutty it is for super rare. Yeah, this is another uncommon card. I'm trying to help separate rare and uncommon a little bit right now because I think I've built up a good common repertoire. Babies, yeah, AP baby is not special enough to be rare or to be uncommon. I think all the rock stars fit an uncommon feel. They're a lot like the Nightmares, where they're really just like additional members of their deck rather than like staples that are like the bedrock of what the deck is built on. Lulhax. Lulhax is another one kind of like Plush Trap where I kind of want it to be common, actually. Unscrew, solid removal. It's staple for the Bonnie deck. It's very similar to Power Outage, where it's like the Bonnies are going to need it, so making it easily accessible makes sense. What do I do about the damn children? What do I do about the children? Let me collect some of the ones that I think have to share rarity. I feel like that the kids need to share rare. All need to. They should be rare. They should be rare. With an asterisk. There's going to be one that's going to be super rare. It's going to be pretty self-explanatory which one. Yeah, Cassidy's a really fucking good card. In the Golden Freddy deck. It's. I don't think Golden Freddy would be playable if Cassidy wasn't in the game. With how Cassidy's just so much power that you get for having Golden Freddy. A rare system in the TCG chat. That's an interesting idea. To Jeter Robotnik threw this up in the Discord that the whatchamacallit, God, my brain's blanking. The checkerboard pattern would be changed depending on the rarity. That's an interesting idea. The checkerboard already kind of changes depending on what type of card they are, though, so that might be there. But that's an interesting idea. I wonder. Hold on. Let me try something. Let me take a test drive for what the look would look like if I did this. Let me pull up Freddy real quick. Or let me pull up like Golden Freddy to take a look at it. Or whenever I open like my art program, I'm just like worried there's going to be spoilers or something I worked on that I forgot I had open. Let's take a few cards out to like look at what this would look like. So I think there's an interesting idea to that. I just want to test run it a little bit. Because right now there's not any variation between the like the metal bit here that runs the power indicator. So what happens if you go up to being like golden? Not like that. No. That. That's kind of subtle. But, and then how would I do that? How would this look? Because this is probably, like, this is, like, the only space on the card that's, like, not used, really. So if I... No. I'm trying to think of a way to make that very clearly. That might be a way to do it. Yeah, it conveys more information. I'll keep that in mind. I don't know if I'll do that right now, but it's an interesting idea of a way to do rarity. I think it... What would it look like if I made you gold? A darker gold. No. You white. No. No, okay. What if I did the rainbow text on you? That's actually not as bad looking as I thought it would be, but not as good as I hoped it would be. That's an interesting way to do it. Let me try. Is there like a metallic one of these? That I could do. That might work for a rarity system. Yeah, the main box already tells you what it is, so checker box would work for the concept. I'll keep it in mind. That is something to kind of pursue. Discard changes. I'm not gonna change the cards right now. It was an interesting idea to toy with. Rare chip find characters. It goes in rare. It has a rare in the name. Oh wait, hold on. Let me clear for something a bit. Here's the thing: the children are tempting to run as a collective set. It's your gut instinct to want a ton of them. You don't actually need that many of them other than with Charlie. Charlie is like the only one of this set that you need like 3 of. You run 3 of the MCI kids in their decks purely for the higher chance of drawing them. That's what's kind of special of them. But like with these, it's like you're going to get them a lot. You're going to want them a lot, but not quite as. But you're not going to. They're not going to be as simple staples that fill out every pack as these guys. But you're still going to see them in a lot of packs. Water hose is probably the most basic removal there is right now. You can go in common. Your common support. You don't really make the deck more playable. Controlled Shock, also kind of a common card. Candy Cadet might be rare. Nah, I wanted him to be a more important card than he really was. He really didn't end up being that special. This is basically a side grade to Deathquin almost. It's way cheaper, but it does kind of a similar role where it's a sort of way of handling almost any card, but it isn't as strong as true removal. I feel like all of these guys have to be rare. All of the FNAF 6 crew. That they all similarly are like they're strong, they're rare, they're unusual. Hollows, I'm not sure. If I was able to do it without any concern for money or normal card creation, personally, I would have hollows be how Digimon does hollows, because I love how Digimon does hollow cards. Basically, all rare cards are very basic bare bones foiling in Digimon, and then all super rares are textured foiling. No matter what. So it's not like in Magic the Gathering, you get a random card that can be a foil, and it could be any rarity. So all cards can have rarities, and that divides values of cards in half. You have super rares are already rare, but then because any card can be a foil at random, You have all the foil versions of the cards, which are more valuable, which then means it's like squared, it's doubled up, where it's like, whoa, not only did I get a rare card, but I got a super rare that's a foil. It's, whoa, what the fuck? Like, there's a little level of hype to that, but it creates a very, not unhealthy, but a very pricey card economy. And if this was a real game, I wouldn't really like that, but that might just have to be how it's done. You know? That might just be the best way to do it. I don't know though. I don't have like a company I'm working with for this really. I'm just kind of going with little research I've done. Kind of like that. So I've got 4 rows here, and I'm starting row 7 here. So I'm actually now getting a little bit of leeway. There is kind of a Shatter Victim playstyle, actually, silly, like weirdly enough, which is funny because I just made a video about how I don't like Shatter Victim. But the Happiest Day card is basically for every unique spirit child, you get a ton of 20% power, or you can draw a card, or you can draw a card, or you can heal. And that stat adds up a lot when you're playing a lot of different ones for this unique deck style. It's not quite playable enough yet, to be honest, but I think the books will make it a lot more playable. I'm kind of scared to make it too strong because I think Michael Brooks and Jake are going to make it so like inherently like straightforward and playable when they come around. So I'm kind of leaving them there for now, or I'm leaving them as they are for now, pretty much. It's sort of just planning for the future. These can be uncommon cards to the clowns. They're similar to like you're not going to run them in every deck, but they're pretty good, and they could go in almost any deck. But you're not going to put them in every deck. Security is very bare bones rare card. White Rabbit's very bare bones uncommon card. Chipper's an uncommon, I think. He's weird, he's silly and gimmicky. He's a lot like the Jackos. He's actually almost a 1-to-1 with how they play. He's just a very easy way to kill weak cards. Oh yeah, Golden Freddy's Hollow saying "It's me" all over it would be really cool. If something pretty much impossible to produce, because it would have to be like a company that specializes in making FNAF cards. Like that would be something like if I ever got a deal with Scott to make the game go big and full forward, and I'm just like a designer working on it, and I can like approve or suggest ideas. That's something that I would do. But if this is a generic card game, I think it would just be fancy foiling in general. Chipper is just like Security. It's a fringe specialish card, but not game busting or anything. Uncommon. Your support for an uncommon card, and you don't make them like unbelievably playable. You're not like a special iconic character. There's not like a thing attached to you that makes you special or valuable. Scooper. This would be rare if it was a bit more powerful. If like Ennard was played free by the Scooper or something like that, then it would go up to rare, because that would be a huge buff to the deck. But it's really just a generic power silo kind of card that helps make Ennard more playable. Yendo's uncommon, I think. Lolbit should be right next to him. They're both weird, but they're not like William. I think William is the staple of what I think of as a rare card, where it's like, ooh, weird. I want him though. He's cool. He's an iconic character. Whereas like a lot of the uncommon cards are either, like I said, you want a ton of them, but they're not as essential as the staples and bedrock cards. But they're not like popular characters the way RWQ is, or it's like that. Springtrap Emprey card. I don't. Is there there's not an official name of the character though, so I would have to make something up and have to draw that as a character because there's no art for it. That would be really funny to do though. Zor is just what I was saying about how it's a weird, special kind of character. That Zor fits that. Security Puppet and that man kind of fit that vibe too. They're kind of actually Security Puppet. You're too essential to the deck to be rare though. Fetus Trap. That's really the only Offspring Trap. Fetus Trap. God, imagine if I named a card Fetus Trap. Ugh. L Chip should be in rare. He was in Rare Finds Auction. Rare Finds Auction should be rare. It's the Rare Finds Auction. Prize King, stupid gimmicky. You go in uncommon. Uncommon's like the banishment tier for like some cards. Like there's just like you can't be common. Prize King might be actually no. It's a rare card and it's a rare character, so it's kind of weird to not make it a little less common. All those little souls. Baby's so gimmicky. I'm just going to throw it in there. Funtime Chica should be rare. I wanted to just kind of throw out cards in that last little bit. Okay, so what are we looking at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 main rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 67 common cards. Yeah, there's 67 common cards. There's 2, 3, 4. There's 44 4 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 52 uncommons. I think that's a fair-ish split. I think I'll demote. No, I can't see any of these cards that I think could be moved down to common. I might move some rare cards down to uncommon though, because we also have 4 rows and it's actually very close. So who goes down to uncommon? I think White Rabbit goes down to uncommon. I actually think I meant you to be an uncommon, but you got moved up a bit. Lolbit can be moved down to uncommon. I think Avenger Nightmare. Well, he's an iconic, cool character. Might be uncommon worthy. Anyone I could buff up to rare, super rare, because I have a lot of that. That might be the better way to handle this. Who would be a good super rare candidate? Old Man Consequences, I think, it really might deserve that role. He's a strange card. He's just powerful in the right context, and he can really set up some scary decks. Funtime Chica is kind of a meme to be rare. Like she's supposed to be like ridiculously silly and hard to get. So she might go up there just for the joke of it. I I'm thinking of moving. I don't like the idea of a lot of Fredbear cards being accessible. Because Fredbear is supposed to be a kind of niche, like you run like one or two of it in a deck kind of feel. Are you going to run more than one or two Happiest Days? You know, it's a really iconic scene. It's a very um, it's it's an iconic card. It's an iconic character. It's an iconic card. Yeah, I do think I would give if I made a map pack card, it would turn. It would make it so children count as animatronics for the sake of effects. Um, Dark Springtrap's kind of strong, but he's not like all of these are, with the exception of party hats, are like a very special, like one of a kind kind of character or concept. Like the rainbow is the final boss. Like these two are the final boss of FNAF World. Pickles is a win condition card. Golden Freddy's fucking Golden Freddy, and Fredbear's Fredbear. This is one of the strongest cards in the game, and is like the evolution of the main protagonist. Basically, these two are just such like these. Like this is one of the, if not the single best card in the game. Ennard is an objective. He's fucking like unlocking Kaioken in play style. This is like one of the strangest, like I said, summon skull kind of like it's rare, it's unusual in how like how simple it is, but how like to the point its play style is. Um, hmm. It would be kind of funny if Chipper was in super rare. The logbook I might move to super rare now that I think about it. I really I might make a card base. There really isn't one right now. Uh I might make one quickly after the stream ends, actually, because that won't be that hard to do. Uh, I don't want to move the puppet up to super rare because I don't want the puppet to be something you only get like once a pack. Um, is there anyone in this like collection where I'm like, oh yeah, you need to be a once a pack kind of card? The logbook might be that because but it's not good enough to be a super rare. All of these are good cards competitively. Well, Dora Boromont the fucking door, but it's there as a joke. But all of these are like, well, Funtime Chica. Funtime Chica's here's a meme. She doesn't count. She's up there with Dora Boromon as a joke super rare. But all of these are really good cards. Or Zangle and Funtime Foxy are both pretty good. Um, and there's kind of an extra bit to them because Zangle is like one of the most obscure cards in the game, and Full Metal Mangle is like we've never seen them, so that's kind of what makes that a funny card to make a rare or super rare. Um, Shadow Freddy, maybe he might be worth making it. If I can, let's see how many. I think we've done a solid like amount now. Is a second glance going to make any of these common? Um, maybe I should just make the entire Phantom list common. Even Phantom Puppet really isn't that special. Um, Nah, I think this list might be good where it is. Now that I'm really looking at it all again. It's not as clean of a pyramid as I would like, but you can see it go there. Like, you can see how it shrinks little by little each row. Because it goes from nearly seven rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and then it shrinks down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it shrinks down to 4. Then it shrinks down to 2. I wouldn't mind this list being the list I run with for a while. I need a buff Nightmare Fredbear. I don't know what the hell to do with him. I think if there's any card I'm going to rework, it's him, because he might be there. Maybe I should take... I made him into a comeback card. The purpose of the cards for Rarity is mostly just for fun, to be honest. And if I want to make it... For example, let's say in a Magical Wonderland world, I collaborate with people to make a FNAF card fan game. I think it would be cool if we set it up kind of like Master Duel, where you can do card packs maybe to build decks. Then I could do then I could just use this rarity list to do that, for example. But it's also just for fun. Like, you know, it's just fun to think about what if they were to be a real card packs. This is how rare they would be. Like it's. I think DD can go up to uncommon. She was like the only one who kind of stands out to me as like, nah, she could be uncommon. Yeah, I think this list is fine. Yep, it's just for fun. Yeah, I think the other thing is like I said, it's special characters, and I would want these cards to be in foil. You know, I don't think I would care if the Wizards were in foil or not. And there's always alt arts for that. There's always alt arts if they do deserve to be foil. I would love an alt art Mangle that was foil. I'm gonna... I do have a actual quality of the cards tier list, as in like how do they play. And let's... I don't know if I'm gonna do every card. I'm just going to do a lot of the gut, like these are just like everyone who plays the game knows these cards are strong or silly or whatever. Tokens are tokens. They're just an extension of the card that plays them, you know. Where's Dora Boromon? There he is. Lumberbot, where are you? Lumberbot, HPX Auto Shipper. Very basic cards. Is there any... Let me fish out some cards that just like have inherent standout roles in the game. Where I'm like kind of operating in extremes here. Where I'm just like, wow, that's just like inherently what that thing is, you know. No, you're too complicated. I need to put thought into you. Um, you're fucking really good. You're all right. You're all right. You're kind of eh. You're also kind of eh. You're kind of held back by being Nightmare Sport. You're held back by being Puppet Sport. You're actually pretty good Mangle or like Amalgam and Entered Sport. Entered's also pretty AT card. Like I'm just flying through cards that like have. I don't think I need to explain why they're really good if you've played the game. Yeah, I did see some Kodak videos on stuff like that. That was in my mind for ranking rarity and value, but like since it doesn't have a functional purpose right now, I'm kind of being a little bit looser with how I handle it all. Like I said, these are cards that are like are very William. It's really Dark Springtrap and Scraptrap that make the Afton deck scary. Now that I think about it, it's those two working together that make that's just like a scary combo because it's just like 4 cards in a row you can just tank hits. Okay, now we're starting to get into more like technical cards that have like more to think about because I'm starting to exhaust the list of like bare bones kind of cards I can just throw in and out the list. Your C tier fodder. Your Hippo sucks. He's the most powerful searcher in the game, but he only searches bad cards. So it's like, you know, you're funny, but you're not good. You're not actively bad to play, so you're okay, here's what my tier list is. S tier is this is fucking nutty when it's at its best. And it might be just at its best by default. Anim Dude doesn't get stronger in any deck. He just is always that strong. The Crying Child doesn't get any stronger when you put him in a deck. Like, there's no deck that unlocks his potential. He just is that strong. Whereas, like, Adventure Bonnie and Foxy, in those decks, they are terrifying. Nightmare is the cheapest beat stick in the game. Fritz, like, is an unlock the potential card. He's so strong in animatronic-centric decks. And he can make cards that would not be strong otherwise way stronger. Shadow Freddy, not nutty itself, because he basically has no JP unless you're playing a late-game deck. Likewise, like, Foxy and Bonnie can be pretty easy to handle when they're on their own. They're really only threats in swarms. They kind of when their full deck is unlocked and they're really in their comfort zone, they start becoming scary. They're not really before that. These are some pretty. These are great counter pick cards when you have a deck you know you have a bad matchup against and you need caution for, but they're not like cards that will win you the game. Like S tier cards might single-handedly slant the game in your favor if you play them. Whereas like B tier is like they're good cards to have and they function well for their purpose, but they're not often the reason you win. You might win with them, but they're not like I don't play Freddy because I think Freddy will win me the game. I play Freddy because he's a good card to play, and that will help me move towards my plan to win the game. Jump Scare, A tier card, not removal, but it's a good way to handle stuff. There's a lot of these basic customizations are A tier for how much they enable their decks. Let me find some other like very inherent A tier cards. This is S tier. Connection Terminated has been bumped down to A tier in my opinion. It was S tier for a bit, but it now has a drawback that it deals damage to you the more recklessly you play it, pretty much. So it's now been bumped down to A tier. It's the strongest removable card in the game, but if you use it haphazardly, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you sometimes. Pretty much any puppet card is going to be B tier right now. The puppet's good. It should be what wins you the game, but it's not quite there yet. RWQ's that exact vibe. And Mangle's that exact vibe. I'm not winning because of Mangle, but Mangle's really strong. Whereas A tier is like, yeah, I'm not gonna win because I played Adventure Freddy, but he's such. They're just strong. They're searching for Golden Freddy off of either of these is strong. Searching for a spirit off of either of these is strong. This is a free draw. This is a free 10% when you're after a turn. You can stockpile. There's something about these two that enables them more than Chica does, or Chica just kind of stalls a hit point of damage. Some of these cards I just can't rank. Like, I have no clue where, like, Bad Pizza would sit. And no one's successfully made a Painbow deck yet, so I don't know. Never Fox is kind of live. I'll put him in C tier for now. He might get better later with time. Nightmare Bunny's pretty good, but he's pretty narrow with what he shuts down. I'm not sure about redesigning the card backs because I actually kind of like how simple it is. Like, it looks like, if you look at like a lot of the card backs of the games, they're not like ridiculously intricate designs. They kind of have like the one visual they go for, and it looks good, and you just play it. You know, like especially in the physical prints, I really like how they look. I think they do everything they need to do for the card back. Number one crate is just BB and JJ for counters. It just shuts down some decks, but is not good enough to run in place of others. You know, like, you could run three number one crates if you're really scared of Bonnie and Foxy, but it's fucking number one crate, man. You're not winning the game with crate. You can't build a deck. I mean, you could maybe build a deck around crate, but you're probably not going to. Unscrew, really good card, but it's only at its strongest in the Bonnie deck. You're A tier. You're not special. You're S tier. You're great generic beat stick like Nightmare, and really strong in the Golden Freddy deck. A tier. You're really powerful, but you also can just kill your own player at random. Pretty much. If you just like are not getting the cards you really want, or like your opponent just is able to stall a few turns, you just lose with the Dimensional Spirit. So you go down there. You're kind of an unproven potential, but I see a lot of potential in you. I feel like Old Man Consequences has more potential than it's really been unlocked yet. These two, Mike's kind of just cool as a way to support the Michael cards. And Corpse Michael is one of the strongest defending cards in the game, but also he's been nerfed a bit, so he's S tier, but barely. He's clinging in. He's using his negate removal to prevent me from putting him down there. Toy Freddy fucking A tier. Slaps. Toy Chica, B tier. Fine. No real disadvantages or weaknesses other than being kind of limited in range. Toy Bonnie used to be S tier. ever since his minor rework that he's now a 1 JP card that can just snipe anything when he's boosted, brought him down to 8 tier because he's now Bonnie reliant. He needs his friends to work. And you're an 8 tier card. You're scary when you get played. And I can win because I played Funtime Foxy. There's emergencies where Funtime Foxy is useful. But it's expensive. And it's also reliant on your opponent's turn. Hello, Supersonic Bros. Day's been going alright so far. The new video's up. I'm doing this tier list. I like the FNAF TCG, and I like talking about it because I'm proud of how it turned out overall. But it's not on the level of the Bite Victim. The Bite Victim is just such a good card. And these can just single-handedly swing a fight either way. I want to talk about Baby. She's a messy card, and she's in B tier now. She was D tier for a long time. But she's now sort of like a less extreme win condition card. She's hard to use and hard to play, but she's really rewarding when she works. And she's great at shutting down a lane when you play her. She's sort of like a harder to use beat stick in a weird way. She's just not like Nightmare you can just throw down and screw over a lane. You can't really do that with Circus Baby the same way. Bloodstrap's funny. He's not great, but he's funny. He was accidentally S tier because I gave him 2 JP at one point, and that meant he had 2 unblockable JP at random. Andrew will get a card. He doesn't have one yet. I'm kind of doing blocks of cards. So the current card list is 1 through UCN. Then the next card set, set 2, will be Help Wanted through Help Wanted 2 for releases. So it'll be Help Wanted, AR, Security Breach, Ruin. Freddy in Space 2 might be thrown in there as well. And then Help Wanted 2 will also be there. But Help Wanted 2 actually doesn't have a lot of unique characters in it. Help Wanted 1 is going to come with some like remixed cards that'll be like Freddy Reborn or Freddy like AR or whatever. That's supposed to be the modern like delivery service. Freddy's are like the rebuilt crew for that. That's what it's going to represent, but then it's going to be oh yeah, Faz tokens would be a fun way to have the tokens would be fun for characters who flip a coin. That is a fun idea. If it became official, that'd be a really cool way to do it. Kind of impractical right now, but a fun idea. But FCG 3, the third set, will be the novels, Frights, and the movie. I think I'll do a little bit of Fury's Rage, but Freddy in Space 3 is a movie kind of era thing. But maybe. Trash in the Gang are all kind of C tier. I intentionally made this the worst card in the game. Pickles S tier, it's fucking amazing card. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I would call them. I like something I've been thinking of is Freddy like delivery or service, or like Freddy like modern, something like that. Another one I thought of is Freddy LLC, because that's the difference between the original Fazbear Entertainment was Fazbear Incorporated, which I think was established around FNAF 3, I want to say. I think we saw some stuff there that might imply they were incorporated, and then I think FNAF 6 really doubled down on that, if I remember. But then, ever since Help Wanted, it's been Fazbear LLC. Fazcoin and Faz Token might be or Faz Token might be an interesting card. You know, it'd be a fun for a Faz coin. Is making it so it counts as a heads for a card that flips a coin. So you like pay it for 10%. That's like the next time you would flip a coin, it will be heads, guaranteed, but it will cost like 10% or something like that. So you're removing some randomness from a card, but a lot of the flip a coin effects are pretty strong, so that might make them kind of single-handedly viable. Any other cards that like jump out to me with their value? You're pretty A tier. I might drop Freddy down to B tier because he's at his strongest in Golden Freddy's deck. And he's generally useful in the Freddy deck, but he doesn't swing the tide the way Foxy and Bonnie can. I think Adventure Fredbear's kind of like that too. You're a B tier card. You're a great generalist beat stick, but you're not really that special until you're until your potential is kind of unlocked by the Endo Army, which is an A tier card. I like Mystery Box too much to put anything lower than A tier. That's a complete bias. Nothing about its gameplay usage. Oh, the idea is, I'm saying, yeah, Freddy LLC, and the other cards that come with them would be the modern versions of the characters that are like rebuilt by the new company. I'm not sure if I would do every single character who appeared in Help Wanted 2 or Help Wanted as a original character. Like, I think once we start getting into the Phantoms, it's getting a little silly. But like a new Bonnie, a new Chica, a new Foxy, I think are kind of inherent. I think the blacklight versions of them are pretty obvious. Because there was kind of lore attached to Mangle LLC. In the delivery service where it was established like, we don't know how to get this thing to go on the ceiling. Like everyone said it goes on the ceiling. We don't know how to do that. Robots can't do that. Since there was kind of lore attached to that, I think Mangle LLC would be there. So yeah, like I think modern or LLC would be how I'd phrase it, because that's kind of all encompassing and prevents AR and VR from being two separate things. Okay, this bastard, this fucker. He's really good when he's played. He's really hard to play. I feel like Golden Freddy would be S tier and would be a stronger A tier if a door didn't just shut him down sometimes. Adventure was how they were trademarked for their names. Scott, like, trademarked or copyrighted Adventure Freddy, Adventure Foxy, Adventure Bonnie. So it is officially licensed as their name as the Adventure characters. They just weren't used in other stuff, so we didn't really get to see their names as much. You're almost S tier at times, actually. You're very similar to Foxy, where you're really good when you're really going, but you're not always really going. Any other cards I want to talk? I'm really just picking out cards that are fun to talk about. You're just worse centered right now. I've tried my fucking hardest to make Molten Freddy better, but he's really not. Ennard is... I might even knock you down to C tier. I just, like... Maybe it's better after the buffs, and I should try it out a bit more, but I have not had my best experience with Molten Freddy. Doors didn't affect Golden Freddy in FNAF 1, but at the same time, it's not like... The Puppet is, like, the hardest card to play in the game right now. And that's why the Puppet has Unblockable. Whereas Golden Freddy, I'm pretty much guaranteed, unless I am killed very quickly, to get a Golden Freddy out once a game. It's just how important is that Golden Freddy going to be? Am I at too much of a disadvantage for it to matter, for example? Golden Freddy can't have its JP be lowered, which is a big thing. Can go anywhere, which is a big perk. And reactivates itself, so it untaps itself at the end of the turn. So, yeah, it's really strong. But and also, yeah, it's a fair point that the mask and tablet can stop Golden Freddy. So Golden Freddy being stoppable, I don't think is that weird. Whereas the Puppet's, like, canonically unstoppable, so that's how that was made. B tier card for a B tier character. And you're a little better than the other trash cards. There's a little bit more going on with you. I'm not ranking all of them. I'm just ranking the ones that are interesting. Or like noteworthy to talk about. You're kind of C tier. You're useful in the baby deck but not really in any other context. You're B tier. You're sometimes fun, but you're not great. I think Golden Freddy just makes no sense at this point, and we're not really supposed to think about what Golden Freddy is. Yeah, Escape Key is represented by... Escape Key and Unscrew are kind of both wrapped up into Shadow Freddy, function-wise. It would be kind of redundant to make basically another water hose and another connection terminated. Party Hats A and B. That's a definition of like an A tier, or maybe just like a B tier. Maybe A tier because of how easy and generic it is to play Party Hats, but yeah. I was much more... I don't think I would have made Party Hats as cheap as they are if getting past 2JP didn't become very easy. That the amount of cards that can just surpass that now, ever since Fritz was made, have made that a little whatever. Imaginary Technique, pre-balance, anim dude. Fucking Christ, man. He was upsetting to be played against. Like, if your opponent played Anim Dude, before, like, even, like, I can't imagine what would happen if I made the first draft Anim Dude that just was a living board wipe. Pre all of the balance work I put into him, it was just like, well, fuck, I guess I've lost. If you didn't have, like, a Golden Freddy-esque board, or there was something that could just completely hit back, like, immediately, it was done. It was game. There's a lot of these cards that, like, need... Zangle could be really scary when Zangle gets going, but it's a hard card to get going. Maybe A tier for that. We're really floating in the A and B kind of tier. You're pretty good. You're kind of eh. You're good when you get going, but you're really expensive. You're a huge investment for what you are. Anything with a good blocker, like if you have Nightmare in the office, this is not a good card. Or if your opponent has Nightmare in the office, this is not a great card to have. All of you go S tier pretty much, or go A tier or B tier. None of you are really bad. Mini Arena kind of. Ooh, actually, I like Mini Arena. I really like running Mini Arena in the decks in the enter deck. Likewise, Electrobab's actually pretty good in the deck when it's really popping off, but not amazing. Cassie's a nutty card. I had to make Cassie powerful to make sure the Golden Prey deck could work. Because if I did not make, if you ever know anything about Smash Bros. Melee, for Roy's up B, they had to give it like a shit ton of set knockback to make sure the hitboxes would collide properly. Because otherwise, small characters would just fall out of the attack. Like, it just would not hit all the way. But what this means is if you can hit Roy's up B with only the first hitbox, it just auto kills Jigglypuff tier weight class characters. So if you're as light or lighter than Jigglypuff, you can just lose from 0% to Roy if they know what they're doing. Okay, Spirit Children. Charlie's C tier. Most of them are B tier. Jeremy, A tier right now. These ones only really work when you're already. It's kind of just they're kind of win more cards a little bit with their effects. Fritz, if you already have 2 JP counters on a Foxy, you're already on the right track with him. And that one card's good, but it's not amazing. But when you start getting to the higher counter amounts for Fritz, that starts getting sillier. L Chip's scary late game. Yeah, but he's not amazing. He's not amazing until late game. He's actually pretty easy to get rid of when he's first around, but when there's an L chip who's just left to sit there, he becomes scary. Spring Lock Failure is good because it's Afton support and it kills Fritz and Mike. The only things that can really slow down Afton. But you need to have it support out, so it's kind of like Jump Scare where it's good but kind of held back by its requirement a little bit. Pizza's kind of meh. I want to find some more D tier cards that are just not good. No, this is not a bad card. I would argue Rockstar Chica is a lot of lost potential. No one runs Rockstar Chica though. Just no one uses her. Likewise, Yendo's in this kind of tier of not being a bad card, just not being useful in the way that like these cards all are. I think I've talked about most of the cards I wanna talk about. Because there's a lot of just like they're all right. They do their thing. They're good, but they're not like Mike goes in S tier. Like Mike, it rules to use. he's just like such a good card when you Mike is one of those like you can really turtle and bunker down with Mike, and that's really fun. Second from Fredbear is where is he? I was just thinking about cards I haven't really put up. Did I put him already on the list somewhere? Oh, I didn't. Oh, here he is. He's D tier. He's not amazing. Now the rank cards on taste. I don't want to taste any of these characters. I don't want to know what Springtrap tastes like. I refuse to know what Springtrap tastes like, actually. Coffee, A tier or B tier. Very low GP, kind of dies a lot. Vanessa gonna get a card called White Woman Jump Scare. It would be funny to call Vanessa, to have Vanessa have a card called the Gungalar, or whatever she was called for a bit. Maybe in the way that Dora Boromon is a joke card that exists. Beauty Double Click's pretty good. It might become an S tier card with time, but right now if you're not running Happiest Day, it's just a single free child a game, pretty much. It really doesn't do much else without that concept. Similarly, the Survival Logbook is C tier, similar to these cards, or similar to these three, where they're just kind of missing the potential they need rather than being actively bad cards. This one is basically BB Double Click, but for the two cards it doesn't really work on, which are Cassie and the Crying Child, which are both S tier cards. So it's better because it supports a niche, but it's niche. I think I have to make a Giga Monty card. I know it doesn't even it's not even like a canon thing, but he's such an iconic part of Security Breach to me. I want him to be canon. You know? I want to support him. Elizabeth was C tier or D tier before she was buffed. I have no clue where she sits now. I'm not even gonna try. Okay, wait, actually there's there is a tier here. For this list. There are two cards that go in this. Texas Gray, I should. There are only two cards that go in banned tier. Banned in quotes. You just can't play these cards on untap. I didn't think about that when making them, but Untap's system for how it handles cards and allows you to play cards does not allocate for what these cards do. So they don't work. You can't use them. They're literally unplayable. Not unplayable in that they can't be used, or like they're not good. They're literally unplayable. They will never work on Untap, and that's the only way to play the game right now until I port it over to Tabletop Sim. So, congrats, Mystery Box 2, the joke card made between me and some of the beta testers of the pre-launch game. And Lulz Hacks, made just because I wanted Convulsion of Nature to be in the game. Mystery Box 2 scrambles both players' boards, basically, along with random cards from their hand and deck, pretty much. Um, and the problem with untap is you're not allowed to interact with your opponent's cards. They have to manipulate their cards for stuff to happen. So you can't scramble the decks the way you need to for this to work, really. Likewise, Lulz hacks, you can't flip. He flips the deck upside down, and you can't do that in untap. There's just not a function for it. So they are banned for now, in quotes, because they don't fucking work. They're not even on untap. I'd never put them on untap. Let me just throw in some C tier kind of cards. These are all kind of like they have not proven their worth yet. The value of those cards is kind of unknown, if that makes sense. They might be good. We just haven't seen them use. We haven't really seen a deck that can use them to their full power. You're gimmicky and silly. I think you're actively bad to play, even though you're theoretically really. Theoretically, in its own deck, this could become very scary. No one's running a mediocre melody deck right now, so no, it's not good. You're really scary when you get going, and you completely change how the board is played. You're both kind of strong because you enable some weird janky bullshit. Hand unit's pretty good. Enables the inner deck a lot. You're kind of a fringe weird use. You're not as good as the other Bonnies, but still useful. You're no one's really figured out how to unlock your potential. I think what would a Gigamonty do? I'm trying to think. I think it has to be something that feels like how Gigamonty was unlocked in the original game. Unlocked in quotes, like he's a secret character. Because he was a bug caused by making it so a Monty who's not supposed to really appear gets put into it becomes actionable and playable, or it becomes actionable. So it would have to be like a lower scale Fredbear, you know, where it's like if he would be played in some weird condition with Monty, but he would be like a 6 JP menace. Oh no, I know what he would be. So Gigamonty's behavior was that most of the animatronics in the game have like an effect going on where they will lose interest in you when you hide in something or go in Freddy, and they will and if you get too far away or there's too much geometry in your way from between them and you, they will kind of forget where you are. Gigamonty is missing the parts of the code that do that. So making Gigamonty something like a stronger Toy Bonnie, make him like a stronger Toy Bonnie, but like he's way harder to use. I think is how I would do Gigamonty. They make it so he can really only attack and only really be offense. But he can't really attack players, I think is what I would do to make him sort of like Toy Bonnie, and also make him like as hard to play as Fredbear, I would say. I think you have a little bit more use than a D tier card, but you're also kind of unproven potential. This is the unproven potential card. I'm moving it to C tier because I believe in Shadow Puppet. I believe. I believe. But I don't know. Cassette Man's good at his uses. He's got place. He's got a place in things. You're a C tier card. Yeah, I think making it so he always ends the turn deactivated would be a good way to do it, so he can't block. So he's always vulnerable. Would be a trade off for him. Happiest Day is good when it can be used, but it's not a super playable card. I kind of want a deck playstyle based on they I don't really know. Malefic, yeah. So this is an archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh that's really weird and gimmicky. So basically, they're special condition only cards that like they're meant to be stronger, but they kill themselves after they're kind of played, and they're supposed to be like weird, bizarro versions of like the main ones, like Red Eyes Black Dragon. Yeah, this card cannot be special summoned or set, so you can't play it normally. This card can only be special summoned by removing one Red Eyes Black Dragon from your deck. So you get to play it free, but it kind of shuts down the rest of your board, and you need a field spell for this to work. So I think maybe making some cards that function like that might be interesting. But I think they would have to be stronger than the Malefic cards are. The Malefic cards are held back by the fact that they're basically just the original cards, but you play them free, and then they immediately do nothing and they suck ass. Um, I already kind of know the gimmick of the Glam Rocks. No one asked the question about that. That's just something I'm thinking about. I think the idea of the Glam Rocks is, they're going to be kind of like Biddy Bab and Springtrap, where they're going to kind of like transfer over in a weird way, but maybe making the ruined versions of the characters like the Malefics, where you kill off their original versions to play them free, might be an interesting way to do that. And make them really high cost and kind of risky, but harder to use. And then making the normal Glamrock just very like safe, reliable kind of cards. I think is how I would handle the main group. And then having the shattered versions. I have ideas for the Shatter version. I've been talking about Shatter Victim too much lately because of the video. I think the normal Shatter versions are the ones I'm not sure exactly what they would do yet. Because the Glamrocks have to be like just like normal cards. I think the Shatter versions would be played when their normal versions are sent to the salvage free. So it would be exactly like how Springtrap and William work. Just the effects would be switched around a little bit. So like William's effect is that he plays Springtrap when he dies from your hand. But the Shattereds would be like, oh, they would be the ones that have the free play effect, and then they would have like one normal kind of effect, but would be more dangerous. So they would be like weird unstable versions of themselves. I think the gimmick is the more ruined they get, the more like unreliable but powerful they can theoretically be. Speaking of unreliable but theoretically powerful, C tier. You two, you're both really interesting in your peak usage, but not typically. Actually, yeah, Monty being able to kill a door or maybe tokens could be really interesting. Uh, that would be an interesting one to handle. Monty being like a counter token play, which makes him counter doors, could be really interesting. Uh, what would Roxy do? Because her power is to see through walls, but that doesn't really feel like it's her ability in the game. You know, I like making the cards play like how the character kind of acts in the game. Like Springtrap is scary and can kind of go anywhere, but he's kind of, it's all about slowing him down because he hurts himself when he attacks, and doesn't deal if he doesn't deal damage. And then Foxy's all about like building up the tokens for all one big payoff, and then uh Bonnie just kind of like whittles you down as you're swarmed and stuff like that. So it's like it's very aggressive, it's very in your face, very constantly there hounding on you. Um, but like I said, I know Roxy canonically can see through walls and stuff, and that makes like hand peeking or deck peeking sound normal, but that's not what she plays like in the game. Like her actual game play style is like the lunge, that sporadic, like all at once kind of momentum. And the fact that she's a little bit faster and more aggressive, I think, than the others. I think Monty also has the lunge, but Roxy's the one that like really solidified that style. Um, so I think Roxy needs to be a little. There's something about deck peeking and hand peeking that's a little bit more technical and a little bit more like it's a little too smart for her, if that makes sense. Um, hmm. I just have an interesting gimmick for Roxy. You know how I mentioned the lunge, and this also incorporates the see through walls concept a little bit. Make it so she can move from row to row if you have a card who can be played in that row in your hand. So like let's say she's normally a front card, but and then you reveal like a left hall card, she would move to the left hall. Because that also plays into Ruin where she's lured by audio and stuff like that. Um, that might be how I do Roxy. Like the idea that she can move, but based on cards you reveal in your hand. I think that's how I would do that. Funtime Chica kind of she's high C tier. I'm not really doing actual order for these cards, but like she she she's an interesting promise for a card, but she's not an interesting action for one. Um, I think almost all of these remaining cards are kind of unknown for how good they really are. Like I couldn't tell you exactly how good these remaining cards are as functional cards. Tangle's kind of mid. Um, they've been changed in some spots. They've been reworked in others. They've kind of they're kind of unknowns. They're Endo 01 I might put in another high C tier kind of role. I feel like all of these have the similar thing, and I can't just put them all in D tier. Uh, that like who fucking knows with these guys really? Mendo I think was pretty good. I enjoyed using Mendo the 1 or 2 times I used him in a Endo deck. This is actually outright bad. I think I want to keep it here. I think that's a good point to kind of like end it off on, because it's like it's these are the ones I feel better about. I think Sun and Moon would be the only double-sided card. I think they're the only one that Gimmick makes sense for. They would be 2 double-sided cards respectively. There would be the there would be the normal Sun and Moon from the base game, and then there would be the Sun and Moon from Ruin, and then maybe Eclipse as a third separate card that gets like played by their effects if you do something right. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this like list. Especially I like the Rarity one a little bit better, but it's because I think Rarity is a more interesting subject that I can more easily apply to all of the cards. Yeah. I think that's a good point for the stream. I'm gonna add some of the notes about FCG2 to. I have like my private little Discord for notes and stuff. So yeah, I think yeah, making it power based where they switch. Uh,